Hello everybody, how are you all doing this morning? Welcome back to another episode of Phenomenal Views. I'm your host Nick Smith, and this is my review for the sequel to one of the best horror movies I have ever seen that starred Ethan Hawke, Sinister 2. So, before I even start this review, this is going to contain spoilers, so if you do not want to know what happens in this movie, please leave the video now, and for those who are staying, let's get right into it. Sinister 2... This is basically Children of the Corn Part 10, but with Sinister thrown into it. And what I mean, it takes place on a farm, there's corn around, there's people on crosses, there's people with freaking scythes. I kept looking over to my friend Chip, I was like, Children of the Corn? Like, multiple times in the film, I would be going over to him being like, Children of the Corn? Children of the Corn. Because that's what this movie made me think of, was Children of the freaking Corn. Alright, so the main plot of Sinister 2 involves about Deputy So-and-so who is still trying to figure out Bagul's pattern, and he's finding the houses that Bagul had, the houses where people were murdered that involved like a child disappearing. He goes to each of those houses and he burns them. And so when he finds out that there is another house, he goes there, but he discovers there's another family. There is a family of 3, and it involves a woman who is who is just ending a messy divorce with her 2 children. And this, I'm sorry to say, this is honestly where I started to care more about. I cared more about this part of the story than I did the part with Bagul. And I'll explain why. Because Bagul just seemed out of place. And it's just really weird, but like the littlest kid, he is talking to the ghosts of the people who were murdered in the house that he's in. And the reason that they're in this house is because she's trying to hide from her ex-husband, who is a really, really disgusting douche. And so, like, she mentions to Deputy So-and-so when he finds them, he's like, or no, she's like, one of my friends owns this place, and she's allowing us to stay here for a couple days until I'm able to get back on my feet and pay for a place of my own, and no one knows we're back here. So, you know, after that, he starts investigating the church. They live on a property where there is a church and there is a mass murder. And now here's one of the problems that I kind of had with the movie. The videotapes seem too much. Like, the videotapes in this one just, I don't know, it just seemed like it didn't fit. Like, the first one is of a crocodile eating people. Then there's another one where people are getting electrocuted. Then there's another one, they show all the tapes. And the reason they do this is because they're wanting the little boy to become one of them, so he can make a movie for them and add it to their collection, and they will become one of them. Or they keep saying, like, if you don't do this, he's going to be mad, and we do not want him mad. And I said to my friend Chip, I was like, it would have worked better for me if the kids didn't talk. Because the fact that, like, you know, he's speaking to the ghosts and everything, I was like, it might have been more creepier if he just seen the ghosts. Like, in the first one, like, when the little girl sees the ghost of the dead girl in her house, she doesn't talk to it. It just goes, shh. And it's like, maybe if they had done something like that off screen, or if they had just had, like, he finds a videotape and the ghost points for him to go somewhere. Or, like, he finds a videotape. Like, maybe they could have done something like where as soon as they move in, like, they go down to the basement and they find this stuff, and one ghost points, and basically he's saying, watch this video. Because, like, each video is the kids. Like, this is basically like the murder circle, you know, like this one's mine, this one's mine, this one's mine. And I was like, it just would have, for me, it would have had more impact, and it would have been a lot creepier if the ghosts just did not talk. And if the videos were different. Because they just seemed out of place. But, so, like, the more and more videos he watches, the more the nightmares, the nightmares stop. And, like, that's the ghost's thing. Like, you know, if you watch this video, your nightmares are going to stop. And as this is going on and on and on, his older brother, who I think that they threw this completely out of nowhere. In the beginning, his mom was like, he's like, my brother is really starting to creep me out. And he's like, well, he just needs some guidance. And she's like, can you help me? Can you help me be there for your little brother? And he's like, yeah, sure. But then, like, he starts to get jealous that the ghosts are talking to him. And I just didn't really understand that, and my friend Chip did, which I don't know if I could have made it through this movie without my friends, because it was hilarious with them. But like, just for me, it just kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere. Like the older brother is jealous because the little brother is getting all this attention or something. I mean, that I can understand, but it starts to drive him crazy to like where he's cussing at his mom. He is cussing at everybody. He's even beating up his brother. And to where he's like, you're not as special. They should have chose me. And all that stuff. And I was like, this just came out of nowhere. But so with all that going on, Deputy So-and-so is still trying to figure out things with Bagul. And it kind of seems like Bagul is following him. And I was like, why would Bagul be following him? It doesn't make any sense. Or it just didn't make any sense to me with Bagul following the guy. And it's like throughout on and on the movie, it'll show us clips at the end of the movie what the main videotape is and who's filming it. And so eventually we do come to probably the best scare in this movie, and this is why I said that I preferred this story over the main story that they're trying to tell with Bagul, is because they talk about like how bad the dad is. So like he wants his children back, and he's hiring private investigators to follow her and stuff like that. And even he somehow finds her house, and he has connections with the police. But Deputy So-and-so comes in and basically says it to where, like, he's been arrested and such, and he's not telling the sheriff. Basically, he's saying if you end up doing this, this could end up really bad for you. And they make him and the wife kind of have a relationship, but it doesn't last too long. When the dad shows up, I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. And, like, they talked about how scary the dad is, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. And this was really good suspense. That's one thing I will give this movie. It has some really good suspense. The suspense, Deputy So-and-so, and the side story are what I really liked about this movie. And as soon as the little kid sees his dad, he starts to pee himself. I was like, oh, this just got real. Because like when me and Chip were sitting there in the movie theater, he's like, forget that noise, forget it. I would get out of there. And one of the other scares I liked was because the kid or Deputy So-and-so is having to walk in the church at night by himself. And I can tell you from personal experience, being in a church at night when you're the only one there is creepy as heck. So I was like, okay, I give you that. But unfortunately, this movie does have a lot of jump scares, and the only one that worked for me, those were the only two scares that kind of worked for me, was where the kid is in the church and when Deputy So-and-so is in the church by himself, and with the dad. And like me, I was sitting there in the movie theater because he's like, I finally got all the stuff, you can either bring the boys with me, or you can lose all your money trying to get custody back, or we can be a family again. And unfortunately, and the thing is, with Deputy So-and-so, when he gets there and he finds that there's people there, he talks to him like, look, you gotta stay here. You just gotta wait until I figure things out. And he comes to, and like, we come to find out that like, and they even discuss this in the first movie, like, if you're in Bagul's killing circle, like, if you're in his pattern, if you leave the house, you are going to die. And so he was basically saying, like, look, you've got to stay there just so I can figure things out. He's basically saying, if you leave this house, you are going to die. And so I liked how they explained that, and when they leave, he's like, no, shoot. And they do this thing with the ham radio, which honestly made me go back to Arkham City. Because like there's a lot of clues in Arkham City, and one of them is you can play like with the bat radio thing, and if you go on a certain frequency, you will hear numbers. And I was like, Scarecrow? Yeah, Scarecrow. And the whole entire thing, like, they find out, like, that Bagul has been doing this. They talk about how Bagul's been doing this for centuries and stuff like that. Stuff that they did with the first film. And I was like, okay, that's okay. There were, like, this movie, I guess because I'm so used to jump scares, a lot of the jump scares didn't even faze me. I was sitting there like, oh, hey, jump scare. No, jump scare. Jump scare. Jump scare. Jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. And they eventually start to tie everything together. That, like, the boy, like, the ghosts really wanted the older brother instead of the little brother, just in case the little brother fanned out, because they were having the little brother be really creepy, and creepy kids creep me out. So that was another thing that kind of worked for me on the scaring level. But the little brother starts to get sadistic once he watches one of the films, and he's like, they chose me, you didn't deserve to be chosen. And all this other stuff. So, like, his little brother knows he's watching these creepy videotapes, and the little brother's just like, it's like, wow, this is the best thing I've watched. Oh, man, you are so screwed. Man, you messed up. I'm the chosen one now. He's got, like, this cockiness about him. And while young Michael Myers over there is just sitting there eating at the table, this was another scary scene that I thought honestly worked, because I was already afraid of the dad. But when they're all sitting at the dinner table, he's like, you haven't eaten your vegetables. I'm not hungry. And he just snaps and he force feeds the kid food. I was like, oh my gosh, I want you to die, but I'm more terrified of you than I am Bagul. And so then we, earlier, Deputy So-and-so tried to go up to explain to the husband what'll happen if they don't leave the house. And, of course, him having a baseball bat. Was it a baseball bat? I think it was a baseball bat. He basically beat the crap out of Deputy So-and-so and told him that if you ever come on my land again, I'm going to shoot you. And then I'm going to go take the pain out on my wife. And now I'm going to go bang her. I was like, wow, this guy deserves to die. And so eventually, things start to go really bad when the oldest brother finally admits that he's Isaac from Children of the Corn, and basically ties up everybody on the wooden crosses. Okay, seriously, directors, this is basically Children of the Corn Part 10. Which me and my friend Chip, we couldn't stop laughing because it was Children of the Corn. But before all this was going on, the younger brother texts Deputy So-and-so. He was like, hey, it's the younger brother. Please help us. And he comes by and he sees what's going to happen. The last kill is the kid has to make his own videotape. And what his is he ties all three of his family members on wooden crosses, and is going to burn them. Another one of the movie things that they found out was it happened in the one of them that happened in the church. I remember them now. The one that was in the church was like rats eating people, and the other one was a kid burying his family outside in the snow and making them freeze to death. And they did have a creepy scene where he was focusing on the mother and she just moved her eyes. I was like, okay, that's freaking creepy. But like I said before, a lot of the videotapes in this movie felt out of place. And Chip and I even agreed with each other. I was like, the videotapes just didn't feel right. I don't know, maybe they could have done something different, but he kills the dad, and the Deputy So-and-so shows up, and this was the best joke my friend Chip made all day when we were watching this movie. Deputy So-and-so rams and hits the kid, and Chip's, and like, he just gets up like he's the Terminator, and Chip's like, you didn't hit the kid hard enough! And so basically, like, it's a whole thing of, like, where they're chasing each other, and the camera eventually gets broken, and then Bagul turns the boy into a ghost, and then like the little boy, the kids, all the demon kids are like, he's mad, like they're scared of him now. They're like, you didn't finish the videotape, he's going to be mad. And then of course Bagul shows up. There was one thing in this movie I was hoping that would happen, because they have a cameo from the girl from the first movie, the last child. And when she was getting ready to show her videotape, I was like, oh please, I want to see what they did. They do connect the two movies together, and I was like, okay. And they explain why he's not on the Force anymore, which is a really cool thing. But the movie ends the same way that the first one did, with a Bagul jump scare. And I was like, okay. And then we got up and then we left. And after pondering over a few days, this movie does have a couple good things going for it. It does have good suspense. I mean, it has some real good suspense, but unfortunately, when the side story I care about, and I honestly think is more important than the stuff with Bagul, it kind of makes it... my final grade for Sinister 2... even though it's got all the suspense and it has some good moments, I'm sorry, I'm gonna give Sinister 2 a C. And for anyone who was like, I think the movie's better than that, I thought a lot of things were out of place, and I even honestly think that this movie was an unnecessary sequel to begin with, because I thought Sinister was such a good movie to where it could have just lived on its own. But I mean, it has some good suspense, but I felt that the videotapes are out of place, and just a lot of things they could have done to make this movie better. And so I'm going to give it my highest rating, a B-. Lowest grade, a C, a B-. But guys, this has been another episode of Phenomenal Views. Put in the comments below, what did you think about Sinister 2? Have you watched it? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Do you think that this was an unnecessary sequel? Really let me know. And for the guys who helped me to improve my channel, I want to say thank you for the support. For those who went and watched the movie with me, thanks for a good time. And for those who enjoy my videos, thank you for watching them. I'm glad you enjoy them. Guys, have a good day, and Cinetober is coming up. I've got some ideas. Have a good day, guys.